Good evening, everyone. From Johannesburg, South Africa, it's Shamila Ramjawan from the Red Corner Chat. My guest this evening is Khethiwe Zulu, who is in the beautiful KZN of South Africa. Hello, Khethiwe.
How are you? How are you, Doc? Are you good?
I'm good, thank you. Can you just call me Shamila for today?
I love calling you Doc, but okay, Shamila.
It sounds nice when you say Shamila.
Wait, Doc makes it aspirational for me because I want to like get there kind of. But okay, Shamila today, I'll be casual.
Just Shamila, yes. So everyone watching, Khethiwe Zulu is an author and game developer, and it's all about the South African history retold. And we're going to get to know all about it today. So Khethiwe, do you want to maybe start by telling us who you are? Because I'm sure a lot of people want to know, who is this person that is so inspirational?
Thank you. Firstly, before I start, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity. It's amazing. Like, I met you for the first time in September during the Heritage Day Brand South Africa game. And I think because you're just so passionate about the country, there was an instant click. And because I didn't want to be pushy, I didn't want to say, please get me on to speak to you. But I was really inspired by how much you love our country. Thank you for having me. It really means a lot. My name obviously is Khethiwe Zulu. I'm a wife. I'm a mother to a 4-year-old daughter. I come from a family of 4 girls and 2 boys, so we're quite large. And I'm a creative writer by profession. Most people mistake me for a historian, but I'm a creative writer. And the special skill that I've been fortunate to have is to particularly write for an audience, which means that the skill that I have is to take information and tailor make it to a certain audience. And that has propelled me to actually coming about to writing history the way that I'm writing it now. I enjoy tennis. I enjoy socializing with people. People think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not. But I really enjoy meeting new people and gaining new information. I love listening to people's stories. I love learning all the time. And in a nutshell, that's who I am. My proudest title, though, is mom.
Not wife?
Mom.
Not wife. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'll tell you why. Because you put me on the spot when we did the board game.
I think the nice thing about mom is that it's so collective. It's for both him and I. So it's a shared kind of passion. Wife is definitely has been secondary for the past 4 years, I think. Yeah.
So Khethiwe, so you love stories and you love writing stories, and you authored 3 books. Am I correct?
Yes, it is 3 books.
Take us to those books.
The first book that I authored is called, the entire project is called South African History Retold. Retold because I didn't want to, I grappled with untold, and I thought it's an unfair sort of like platforming for people that have told the stories before. So I opted for Retold because I wanted to tailor make it to the way that I wanted to be told. And it stems from how I interpreted history in high school. History for me in high school was very lengthy. It was just piles and piles of information that at the end of the day, I didn't want to engage with. So I wanted to tell history the way that I would have liked it to be told. And the first book is called South African History Retold, the history behind the street names. And just a little bit of background, if you'll allow me, Shamila, is that the street names were renamed in Durban from my observation, but I later learned that it was nationwide. And the people that they were renamed after, I had no idea. I have the basic understanding of the historic figures that shaped our liberation, Babo, Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo. So I had the basics, but there were about 56 streets that were renamed in Durban, and only 4 that I knew of. So I thought to myself, hell, I'm going to go and find a book that explains the rest of the 52 that I didn't know of, and I didn't find one. So I thought, I'm just going to write it for myself at first. But then when I realized the information I was getting and that so many people didn't know what I now knew, I decided that maybe it's best to make it commercial. So I put together 156 street names nationwide and just did a snippet of who those people were, because I didn't want the books to read like a history book. I did at maximum 2 paragraphs per person. I wanted people to have an appetite enough to engage further, to want to read further, but at least a basic understanding of who these people were. That was the first book. I then translated it into isiZulu. Honestly, because that was the only medium of communication that I had access to. My name is Khethiwe Zulu. I'm Zulu, KwaZulu-Natal. So I have a basic understanding of isiZulu. I won't even take you through what I didn't know about isiZulu. That was just a whole monstrous project on its own. But at least I could interpret the information in isiZulu. After that, when I launched the street names book in Johannesburg, there was actually a comment that how come there are not so many female liberation icons in my book? And I didn't know how to explain to people that I had to stay loyal to the project. I had to interpret or find information out about the people that were already named. So I couldn't chuck in there Winnie Mandela. But of course, because she was also still alive. And the whole understanding was they're going to rename streets after struggle icons that had already died. So I couldn't go out of the project and chuck in Winnie. But obviously, it was a gaping hole in the liberation struggle. How can you not have Mandela? So I decided I'm going to embark on another project called South African History Retold, the history behind the women in the liberation struggle. So the 3 books are the street names, this translated version, and also and the women in the liberation struggle. Then I thought, you know what? How fun would it be if this information was sort of like taken in a different way? And that different way, I thought, board game. And because I come from a family of board gamers, like Scrabble, 60 seconds, that was our downtime. We weren't allowed cell phones or any stuff. We engaged with my parents via board game. That's how we learned to spell. That's how we learned the English language. That's how. So I thought I would love to, just as a legacy, do a South African History Retold board game. And I turned these 2 books into a questions and answers board game. And hence the project was born, South African History Retold. And obviously the way moving forward with the project is I want to develop a South African History Retold encyclopedia. So that it's not only street names, it's not only women in the struggle, there's so much more to tell about the history that we have that is so rich, that unfortunately is so thin at the moment in terms of what is being taught at schools.
Wow. Wow, yeah. Wow, wow. How long did it take you to write these books?
You study creative writing and you think you've got it in the bag up until you engage with the information. Most people write books on one figure. Most people would write a book on Nelson Mandela. So the information that they are engaging with is only on Nelson Mandela. I was writing a book of 156 people. So it was a mammoth task. I couldn't rely on one source. I had to do desktop research. I had to do autobiographies and biographies and any other historical information that was obviously verified at the time, up to obituaries, because sometimes the history that we have is so thin that some people were not really historically told. We just know of them, but there isn't a lovely linear kind of following of their story. So I had to sometimes go to obituaries where I know that at least families were accurate in terms of telling their story. The first book took 5 years. 5 years.
Gosh.
The board game took 2.5 years. And the board game took long because I was doing it from my own head. And I didn't realize that the rules could be interpreted very incorrectly by somebody who's reading them and doesn't really know what is supposed to be done in the board game. The testing is what took the board game a long time. The second book, though, because I knew the information I wanted to zone in on, took me 1.5 years. So that was a relief because now I know what I'm doing. The first one, I was just collecting anything and everything I could find and then trying to slice it down to 2 paragraphs and verify it at the same time and hand it over to my editors that said, listen, this word is not even sounding right for your audience, because I wanted to write for an audience of 13, an age group of 13 and above, but they were like, this word is never going to be known by a 13-year-old. So that kind of learning for me is what took a long time for the first book. The second book, luckily, took shorter because I knew exactly what to do. So 1.5 years for the second book, 5 years for the first book because it also needed to be translated, and 2.5 years for the game.
Wow, and it's such a success now. You know, I think these days we are so spoiled because we have a lot of stuff on the desktop. You know, we can just go into repositories and gain information from there. You know, in the old days, we had to go through volumes of books to actually research and get information. So we're pretty spoiled in that way. But Khethiwe, you know, you've done this project. It's a major success now. What did you think at the time was going to be your aim for the project?
My aim for the project was always for my 4-year-old. I felt like there was a gap missing in how she interpreted herself, or how even maybe let me not for the first time take it away from me on how I interpreted myself. I went to a Model C school, which is like a historically like white private school. And I felt like I needed to understand history from another's perspective. And I felt like the history that involved me was thin. And I just thought my confidence would have grown so much more had I known icons that came before me that looked like me. So the icons that I was learning about were all white. I don't want to be in politically incorrect, but that's the pioneers and the trailblazers. They were all white. I didn't, and also it was the way I understood from the conversations that we were having, the icons that were in the liberation struggle were positioned differently to how I understood them at home. So while Mandela was an icon at home, the conversations that we're having around school, Mandela was a bit of a terrorist. So for me, it was very confusing, that kind of information, and to try and merge it into one. And I thought maybe I missed a huge chunk of being able to be inspired by the Mandelas, by the Lutulis, by the Tambos, because they were just positioned a little bit differently than what I should have known them to be. And I thought, I don't want that for my daughter. I want her to know that regardless of the background that she comes from, she can be part of the political discourse. She can be part of the discourse of shaping her own destiny and her own identity. Because the people that I started to write about, not to be disrespectful, were primarily nobodies, especially in the women's struggle. There were people that were uneducated. There were people that didn't have degrees, doctorates. There were mothers and daughters that said, no more. This is not how we want to be positioned for the rest of history. And they changed the course of history. And I wanted that for my daughter. So primarily, I was writing something that looks like my daughter, but that is successful. That's why I wrote these books.
Wow. Are you going to encourage her to take history as a subject in school?
Yes.
She's going to ace it, you know that, eh?
Yes. Yes, I think because it just shapes so much of who you are. It just makes you understand you can't move forward unless you know where you've come from. You can't change discourse, you can't change cause, you can't change destiny unless you know the background from which you come from. And you definitely can't pull in that kind of confidence and trailblazer mentality unless you've been positioned to look up to a trailblazer mentality that looks like you. So I would love her to take history. I would encourage her to be as much of herself as possible. I think that would be a bit skewed to saying understand who you are before you move forward with anything else.
I think that is so important. And when we played the game, during it was Heritage Month, and it was very informative.
Yeah.
At that time we had so much of fun just around the table playing the game and learning stuff that we never knew about our history in South Africa.
Yeah.
And although we've picked up so much and learned so much on that day, we're not going to remember it all. I mean, I forgot most of it already. But when you continue playing the game, then you actually start, remembering, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody, every family or household to get the board game.
Yeah.
Because it's so much of fun. The whole family can have fun, but it's a learning process as well.
Yeah, and I think because you've played the board games so many times, there are things that maybe when I talk about them now, you'll start to pick up. The board game is very short in terms of a round, and that is because I want to encourage. I mean, you've got 250 questions in the first board game, another 150 for the woman in the struggle. So in total, my math is not that bad. In total, you've got round about,
400.
In total, you've got, of questions. The encouragement is for you to play over and over and over again.
Yes.
Also, the game was designed to fit a classroom period. And the classroom single period is 45 minutes. Because kids have become so acclimatized to instant gratification, I didn't want the game to carry on to the next day. So I limited it to about 45 minutes so that there's a winner. And the next day they play another round, and the next day, so that you get through all these 400 some plus questions as you are playing the game, so that you learn over and over and over again. If you realize Trivial Pursuit, for example, you start to recognize the questions and you know the answers because you've internalized that whole, the learning is now with you. And that's what I wanted for South African history retold. So people would sometimes complain, it was such a short round, and I'd be like, play again and again and again, because that's how you're going to start to take in the information. And then another thing that you may have noticed about the game is that the questions are quite lengthy. They give you a bit of historic background before asking the question. Because I thought to myself, if people don't have the books, they must at least have some context to the question. So sometimes they'll be like, in 1976, students were boycotting Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. What is the day called? Freedom Day is the, student uprisings, 1976 day. There's a context to the question before the question is asked, because I wanted people to learn through the game, even if they don't have the book.
I'm just going to read some of the messages here. So Knox Zulu says, big up to trailblazers that look like us, so well thought through game design. And then Julie says, look, my kids swear by the game. We really enjoy playing this game at home.
Yeah, those kind of comments keep me going. Those kind of comments keep me thinking that it's worth it. All the sweat and the blood and the tears. And I must add, Shamila, that the game has been so well received, and it's so indicative of the panel that you are seeing coming before you now, by females, and not only Black, across the spectrum, because I think people have realized we are more holistic than what we've been positioned. We are more holistic than what we've been pitted against deliberately, against each other. And people are like, I want to grow kids that understand South Africa and that wants to be a part of change of South Africa. The game has been so well received by females. I'm so grateful because they honestly have been the trailblazers of selling it without me saying a word.
Lovely. Well, I actually bought a few from you. I can't wait to get one of the games across to my nephew who's in Australia. So your board games are traveling the world.
Like, how humbling. Honestly, how humbling. People miss home and they're everywhere. And people want to know more about home. People want to tell more about home. And people want to tell more realistically about home. We don't have a one-sided history. We don't have a one-sided history. And when we were liberated, we were not liberated by Blacks only. We were liberated by all people of color. And people want to encompass that and run with it and tell the true story.
How's it taken at schools? Are they now, is it introduced at schools already?
No, and it's usually quite a painful one to talk about because, like I'm saying to you, everything that I designed was around the school program. No, it hasn't been taken very, very well by departments of education. I've started nationally. I've started to have engagements with KZN Department of Education, KwaZulu-Natal. I try all the time to make those connections. But I think maybe my book came also at a very bad time. It was launched in November last year, so it's a year now. And then January, COVID hit. So maybe there were more like important matters to deal with than buying games and books. I'm not sure, but it really hasn't picked up at all with the Department of Education. It has picked up nicely with the libraries in KwaZulu-Natal because they're like, no, these are the books that we need to have. These are the games instead of these mobile games that we give kids that we'd like people to engage with. So those have been amazing partners in terms of propelling the project. But most people that have taken the project forward are people like you, giving me platforms to talk about it, buying it. I won't even tell the numbers that you've bought. But thank you very much. And also just like parents who are really dedicated to the process of having children be proud of their country through people that look like them. And that has been my biggest platforms is individuals. Obviously it doesn't sell the volumes, but it definitely gives the validation.
For sure. But I think it's going to grow. I think COVID-19 has come and affected everybody, businesses, schools. So I think, let's look forward to a better year next year. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it's going to make a huge impact in schools because, these are the type of resources that the kids really need because they need to know, like you said at the very beginning, they need to know where they come from.
Yeah. They also need to know. I became worried of the mentality of handouts. I'm going to wait for somebody to decide my fate. I'm going to wait for somebody to name the price of my fate. These were men and women, children and elderly who decided, I don't care what you've put as stipulations for me to engage within. I'm going to draw and color outside the lines to make sure that what I need for my tomorrow is being understood by you. So I wanted my child especially to say, I'm not going to wait for a script. I'm going to do what has to be done humanely to move my destiny forward in a positive way and to shape the rest of my life in a positive way. I get worried, Shamila, even now, when they say that the lowest percentage of voters are the youth. Mm. What are we doing incorrectly that the youth feels they are not part of the discourse to shape the rest of their lives? What are we doing incorrectly? And if we don't instill in that, we're just going to have a culture of grants and receivers and people who are not going to engage in moving the country forward correctly. And I didn't want Noluthando, who's my daughter, to say, I'm going to wait for government to tell me what to do. I want Noluthando to say, you know what, Mama Silinga, who was nothing, uneducated, but refused to be told what to do. That's me. I can do that as well. And this for me, that's the entire notion of this project is, guys, rise up. It's not happening to you. It's happening by you.
I love that. You know, they're going to gain so much of inspiration from there, and you know, with all the struggles that people have gone through. So just going back on that, I know you have this passion, and it's a purpose. You've created all of this because you want to make a difference. So in terms of your career, has it been elevated being an author and a board game developer?
No, it has. It's given me amazing purpose, but I get worried when people think I'm going to write a book to make millions. If you write a book to make a difference, and if you can wake up and look at yourself in the mirror because of the difference you're trying to make, that's good enough for me. I mean, it honestly hasn't gained me any millions, but every time I see somebody who posts a video of that game being played and them saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know this, I'm like, yes, that's the whole purpose, is to share what I also discovered. But if you're not writing for your passion, you're not going to make millions. You're not going to make millions from writing. You know, you don't become a millionaire from writing, but you become a millionaire in a million hearts from what you are sharing with other people.
Yes, it's all about giving back and seeing the impact that it makes in others. So I just want to read what Elaine Tetwa said. It's just a matter of time. This is the future: informative, interactive, engaging edutainment.
I love it.
So talking about the future, you know, everything is going, you know, using technology and devices. Is there any reason why you didn't get it onto an app yet? Or is it coming in the future?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I'm so glad you asked, because I get asked that all the time. I think because of the whole buzzword of fourth industrial revolution, people feel like, why can't you access it in our apps? Unfortunately, the majority of our country doesn't have access to Wi-Fi. And I don't think because you don't have access to Wi-Fi, you should lack access to who you are. And I deliberately made a board game, and unfortunately, maybe a bit stubborn, maybe to my detriment, sticking to it being a board game because I wanted access to be far and wide. And I'll go back to Mama Silinga as well. The way she changed the course of history, she had no technology to do that. She did that from herself and her garden and her heart. And for you to sideline people that could have that kind of drive to make a change because you are platforming the game differently is something that I didn't want to do yet. I just want, firstly, a child to have access to playing and reading the book. Secondly, I wanted to get away from this family structure that is always on the smartphone. We no longer engage face to face with our families. I was laughing the other day, and he's gonna kill me for saying this. My husband was on the couch in the lounge, and I was in the bedroom, and he was like, I'm hearing Nolu's our daughter. I hear her coughing. Is she okay? That's how bad it's got. My house is not big, so it's not like I have like miles and miles apart from him. But that is where we go to now in terms of accessing each other. It was easier for him instead of standing up. Hey, I'm hearing my child cough a lot. Are you guys okay there? And I just thought that is exactly the barrier I want to break through. Because we are now no longer dining together. We're not longer laughing together. And I grew from such a rich family of togetherness. And it was around things like board games, sharing of stories. It's just so funny. My dad used to take us on an outing, and we always felt it was an ambush, to be perfectly honest, because we were so excited about the outing. So he'd take us to like a lion park, and as soon as we got home, he'd be like, you have an essay to write. what did you see today? Like, now you've spoiled the entire day. But that was the togetherness that brought the family. And we used to read the essays out loud to the rest of the family. And like, are you lying? That lion didn't do that, you know? But that was the whole engagement of it's no longer there. We're all on our smartphones and our iPads. And I said to myself, what can I do to engage with Nolu, one, in a meaningful way? 30 seconds is not going to do that. It's not going to teach her about who she is. What can I design out of the products and the information that I've gathered over the 5 years that is going to help Ndolo and I connect in a way that's going to propel her forward in terms of her thinking? That's why I have really gone digital.
I totally agree with that. I like that. So I just want to read here. Tuli says, you have said something profound, Khethiwe. This book is not for us, but it is by us. As you rightly put it in your introduction to the South African History Retold book, it is about time the lion told their own story. As South Africans, we need to regain our power and tell our own story and not glorify the hunter.
Yeah.
And Knox says, I like the fact that it is forging back family unit.
Thank you.
So you're making such an impact already. The audience is telling you that you've done a great job.
And like I said once before, it's messages like those that keep me going. The first time we tested the game, I said to them, when did Jan van Riebeeck, the kids, they were, by the way, they were standard 7. Oh, I'm telling my age now. What's standard 7? Great.
It's okay, you can tell your age.
No, I don't think with you. Anyway, so standard 7. And they were like, I said to them, when did Jan van Riebeeck arrive in SA? Choose my Bob, like we used to say at school. They knew the answer. I asked them one question about a struggle hero in South Africa. They didn't even know the name. It's shameful. It's shameful the way that we've structured our education to glorify the hunter.
Yes.
It's shameful.
It is definitely. And this is it. You've now created something where it's there, it's accessible. We need to get our hands on it and we need to learn.
And we need to advocate why. I hate calling it a book, because a book is just something you read, you enjoy, you set aside. This is a living legend of a book. It's a living history. It's not something that you learn about and think, oh my, that was a nice to have. It's something that you learn about and take away with you. Because the book, just as much as the game is designed, is very deliberately written. I made sure to showcase what the professions of the people were. And I say professions, even if they were just housewives, even if they were just stay-at-home professions. I made sure, because I wanted to touch on all the points that you may be positioned in. You're a doctor, I'm a writer. Somebody could just be a subsistence farmer. Somebody, all of them together, they made a difference in our history. So I made sure that it's deliberately written that way. I made sure to write a little bit about their life. I also, unfortunately, had to make sure to write about how they died, because most of the stories that I wrote about, unfortunately, ended in death, but therein lies the significance. When a 19-year-old, Zondo, says, this tree is going to bear the fruits to our freedom, it tells a 19-year-old today that's disillusioned about their destiny, that I too have that Zondo spirit to change my destiny. So I was very deliberate and I was unapologetic. For the Women in the Struggle book, I mostly cut out the husbands because it's not their story. It's not Walter Sisulu's story. It's Albertina Sisulu's story, because most of Albertina was written out of his story from what I was reading. So I didn't understand why I should position her in relation to him. So I deliberately made sort of like a
separation.
A decision that I'm going to tell her story. He's just going to be part of it. Yes. That's all he is, part of it. And most of these women, by the way, were struggle icons way before they met their husbands. But just because of the way that history writes women or writes women out of history or just forgets about women altogether in history, I wanted to bring that back so that the girl child, my child, can identify with any of the 110 women that I've written about in the second book.
That's amazing. It's very interesting. And I know how you cornered us when you played the game on TV, live television.
I'm sorry.
But it was so much fun. We loved it. At least I didn't come last. My team didn't come last.
You know what? It was a good day, Shamila. It was lots of fun, lots of love. Yeah.
It was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's something that I would one day like to sit on and tell my grandkids about. I think it's so impressive and interesting, the journey of South Africans. But do you think it's advisable for, I know they come in the stacks of cards and stuff, isn't it advisable for parents to get their kids involved and maybe they could do a card a week or 2 cards a week and just learn from that?
I think that's an excellent idea. I think that's an excellent idea. I once went to a talk where I can't remember the guy that was talking, but I remember what I took away. And he said, read something, anything, even if it's a paragraph a day. And I thought, my goodness, if you are not a reader at all, but you dedicated yourself to reading a paragraph a day, you take away 365 pieces of information for the year. Yes. And so what you're saying, I think what a good idea it would be, even if you just read the questions and answers card, because of the way they are designed, they tell you a bit of background, and then they ask the question, you would walk away with one piece of information about where you come from a day. I think it's an amazing idea, actually.
Yes, and it's so well thought about because you got the answers on the one side and the questions on the other side.
Yeah.
So they can, the moms can test the kids, and so it's amazing. I think it's such an amazing concept. Well done on that.
Thank you, Shamila. And honestly, it was a concept born out of wanting to share as much as possible. And I don't take away from the team that worked with me. I literally worked with child psychologists. I worked with curriculum developers. And I worked with, obviously, editors to make sure that it comes out correctly. But I don't take away from that team. But the combination is what brought it to what it is today. But I'm going to steal that idea. If I don't mention that you gave it to me, please forgive me. We're friends.
It's okay. You don't have to mention it. I just want people to learn. I think it's so important to know your history.
Yeah, it really is.
So just talking about your editors and the team behind you, what challenges did you face? It took you all these years to put the books together and the board game together. I'm sure there must have been major challenges along the way.
I think from the team that worked with me, the major challenge, I don't have another English word for it, was author's arrogance. I wanted it to be shaped a certain way. They were telling me it's not going to work that way. You learn to listen, you learn to appreciate, because the first time I was so stubborn about how I wanted it to be. When we tested it, it was nothing like I thought it was going to turn out to be. So I had to learn to listen and trust the team in terms of what I was doing. I wanted a game to be as long as possible so that you come back to it, playing it over and over again. And they were like, no. Because kids are used to tablets and winning and instant gratification, limited to a period where they can win instantly and play again. But for me, I was so set because I thought of the project for so long that I thought nobody is going to be able to know it more than me. We tested it. I was wrong on many levels. I wanted to write the book as detailed as possible. And they were like, most people have a concentration span of 140 characters these days. Do you honestly think they're going to go through pages of material? And I was like, okay, fine. We can do it this way. Advice and input from the team definitely shaped the project in a direction that I may not necessarily have thought of in the beginning, but now appreciate. Because I just thought, am I going to read an entire book on Steve Biko to limit him to this amount? And then when I realized that what I was doing is working, because people page through the book quickly. I saw you reading it during the brand essay. You were like turning the pages, like, because it's so easy to engage with. So I was glad that suggestions like that were being made, and that collaboration, that brainstorming, and it's good to acknowledge that you don't arrive at this kind of project just from your own like amazing brain. There are definitely people that were very invested in the project and allowed me the creative space to write it the way that I wanted to, while guiding me at how it's going to be received. And that helped a lot.
What about media and social media? What has the take been on that? Because, you know, I have an issue with that sometimes, because we have valuable resources like this that wouldn't go viral, but yet you hear of some stupid incident that goes viral. So what has your take been on social media?
I just constantly think that maybe there are people that are schooled in these kind of mediums, and maybe I just think maybe there's something that needs to give in terms of my understanding of social media, or maybe like sensational news is always going to sell better. I'm not sure at the moment, but unless you have somebody that is dedicated to making you go viral, and sometimes I have been fortunate. I've had people like you, I've had major celebrities that have tweeted something about it, and you see an increase in interest. You don't necessarily want to turn your project into a controversial news story. Neither do you want to politicize your project if you want to be true to what you are doing. But there's definitely something about social media that's far more fickle. Is that the word, fickle or fickle? That's far more less wanting to engage and think. We are headline readers. We are not article readers. And that disturbs me a lot, because you tend to have information that is important, but because it's just not bad enough or raunchy enough, people don't engage with it properly until you hit that parent that resonates with what you're trying to do. So social media has been a learning curve for me, and I don't think I've got it.
You will get it right. Khethiwe, did you do any videos on it?
Yes, there's plenty of videos. If you go on my pages, South African History Retold, and my social media handles on Instagrams, there's plenty of videos of people are playing it. But I also think that unless you have the huge backing of people like Brand South Africa or National Heritage Institute, unless you have those big names, people would be like, maybe this is not for me kind of thing, unless you've got those mega names behind you. So what I'm doing now is just trying to form as many partnerships as possible with corporates that platform you in that light of engagement as possible. I mean, that's as much as I can do. But you also realize how limited the book world is. At the moment, you produce a book for bookworms, and unless it's a book that's about a celebrity who's done something like major, people are less likely to engage with it and until you put those faces and brands behind it to make sure that they do.
I think this world is just a whole big mix up of audiences, because, you know, it's difficult to identify your target audience. That is what the problem is, because you never know who's going to like it and who's not. So you just got to keep trying, and it's repetition. You know, with social media, you just got to keep posting. If people get tired of you, too bad, they must unfollow you. So just carry on posting your stuff. I'll give you an example. You know, a lot of people said from Facebook, one should go on to Instagram because people want to see things. It must be more visual, etc. So Instagram was the in thing at the time, which is still to a certain extent. But now the shift is onto TikTok. And I'll give you an example. Did you see my pineapple trick video?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so I got it on my Instagram page and I got it on my Facebook page as well, which I think on the Instagram page, there's about 2,000, over 2,000 views. And then I was messing around with TikTok because I created a profile ages ago. And I just thought, let me just go and post some stuff on TikTok. And I posted this about 3 or 4 days ago, and I'm already sitting on 25,000 views.
And the trick though is, Shamila, and I need to ask you this because you have a far more massive following than I do. Does that translate into sales?
Eventually it does. Remember, it's creating that visibility. And you never know who's going to come back. I mean, if I talk about business, people that I have spoken to about my product 3 or 4 years ago, they come back now and they want to get involved. You see? So each time, you just got to give it time and have that patience. But another example, I posted a video where I was doing the demonstration of the Princess D menstrual cup. And I put that on TikTok 2 days ago. And I'm already sitting on, I think, over 5,000 or 6,000 views.
That's amazing. Well done. That's amazing.
So it's all about creating that visibility. So there's an idea for you as well. Maybe create a TikTok profile and start marketing your books and your board game.
That is true. And like I said before, it's been such a learning curve for me because as an academic, how much we hold our information to. We're like, it's not really social media, it's academic. We want people to take it seriously. You know what? You know what? That is not the world. People are not walking into libraries to find South African history retold anymore. They want to find it on TikTok. And it's a letting go. It's a letting go process that I think I need to learn. It's not a project that I should take as seriously as I mean, it's a serious subject, but in terms of platforming, I shouldn't hold on to the traditional author mentality. And it's been hard to let go of. When you say TikTok, I'm like, I just see like videos of people dancing, my book and game in there, like how is it? But the truth of the matter is that's where we are today. And that's what I need to let go of and learn from. And maybe just form another team that's able to guide me in that direction. And just understand that mine is to generate content and let people do with it what people would want, how people would want to access it.
Yes, I so agree with you. It's for everybody. It's what you make of it. I mean, you can just go and put a video of you just sitting still. It becomes a video, and then it's going to get the views. You can maybe take a card a day, do lesson 1, and go lesson 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, a day. Just do a short video clip and put on TikTok, and put your contact details. And it's a whole marketing platform. I mean, all these social media platforms, we need to actually capitalize on them.
Definitely. I think I'm with you. I'm with you. And it's really allowing people who know best about it to guide you about it. Sometimes I forgive myself and I'm like, you know what? It's only been a year. It's been a lovely learning curve for a year, but it's also been a lovely way for me to take in information and get to 2020 instead of my 19 so-and-so degree that I did. So it's been an amazing learning curve. And I've gotten to a point where I'm willing to learn as much as I can. Yeah.
Yes, and just save on the cost where you get other people to do it. Just do it yourself. Just use your phone, your smartphone, do a little video clip. You can do a 10-second, 15-second video clip. It's the same as books. People don't want to read long stories, even on social media, on Facebook. You find some people writing a whole 10 paragraphs. People don't have the time to read. Me, for one, if somebody posts a long post, I would read either the first and second paragraph and that's it, because I don't have the time. So you want to write something like you did with your books and with your games. You write a paragraph and you capture your audience and you're instilling something.
You are doing better than me. I read the caption, the first paragraph, and the comments.
The comments sometimes because you get the negative and you get the positive.
I'm like 60% are going left. That's where I'm going.
Yes, but Khethiwe, it's so nice talking to you. Where to from here?
Where to from here is I've also learned to slow down a lot. It's no use generating all this information all the time when it's not getting to the target audience. So where to from here is surrounding myself with as many like-minded people who've got ideas to move these projects forward. But my passion, where to from here, is to complete that encyclopedia. I have so many other topics. My best time, my loveliest time is when I write. That's what I am. I'm a writer. And if somebody can take the content that I have and turn it whichever direction to get to the proper audience, that's my next tool from here. But I'm learning to slow down. There's no use producing and it's not getting to where you want it to get. I want to change mindsets. I want to change living experiences into better experiences and better thinking. And if that can happen through these projects and I cement them correctly, people are always going to be waiting for the next type of information, But in the long run, where to from here is I would love to complete that encyclopedia. I still even remember Encyclopedia Britannica at home.
Yes,
in our library.
yes, we also had that, yes.
And it had nothing to do most of the time with our history.
Nothing at all. Hardly anything. Yes.
Yeah. I would love to have that encyclopedia that is geared towards who we really are.
I love that. I love that concept because remember, it's going to make an excellent coffee table book. Mm-hmm. And, if I think of my son growing up as well, he used to be so involved in encyclopedia. Mm-hmm. The different versions that came out, I had to buy it for him and that's where he learned all his general knowledge stuff from.
Yeah. Yeah. This was our source. There was no internet. But yes. I've also grown to appreciate the value of silent reading. I don't want my child to access information from Google only. That turning off the page, that engaging with the material, that imagination from the storytelling, that's what I want to bring back, because that's what changes courses of history, is that thinking differently than just taking in information and doing nothing with it. So those encyclopedias were a huge part of my upbringing. How lovely it would be that they were positioned correctly this time.
Yes, for sure. I just want to read comments here quickly. Julie says, gosh, those essays, I cringe every time I read mine. Julie, do you still have your essays?
Only because she had the worst spelling.
Were you in school together?
No, we're sisters.
You sisters. Hi, Julie.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, and you?
Fine, thank you. So what do you think of your sister's invention?
Gosh, Shamila, every time I watch this little girl, because I've grown up with her and I understand exactly where she's come from, I am extremely proud. I get emotional sometimes when I hear her talk about her passion. I've been there when she started this journey, and all of us were like, go for it. And she's really, really come a long way. I'm very proud of her.
Lovely. Well, we're all proud of her. I just want to read another comment here. It's from Trudy again. That's such a brilliant suggestion, Shamila, to create a TikTok profile and post people playing the game there. Snippets of fun moments that will make this go viral. And I have watched Khethiwe's videos that she shares on her website. Some of those people's reactions to the game and winning have been very funny. It would make for great TikTok moments. I so agree. Maybe try something like doing a dance with a question, or just making it fun for the kids.
Yeah, anything to get the information out there, because that's my value. That's the value I want to add, is people to learn something about themselves and where they come from.
We got Ella, and I'm sure Ella wants to say something.
Oh, of course. Hi, everybody. Hi, Khethiwe. Hi,
Hey.
Shamila.
Hi.
Yes, Khethiwe has become like a little sister to me. We've watched her grow, and she's become this really profound young lady, trailblazer, who's not only fostering, education and edutainment, as I previously mentioned, in South Africa, but globally. I have so much faith in the power of what she's producing in terms of changing behaviors and just changing the course of history. So today I just want to say we're so proud of you, and we're with you all the way, Khethiwe. And thank you so much, Shamila, for this platform.
It's only a pleasure. Khethiwe, I'm definitely going to do a YouTube video with your game. So just count on that. Actually, not a YouTube. I'm going to do a TikTok. I think that's even better because I did the YouTube with Brand South Africa when we had that event. I'm not sure if you saw that. I created a link and it's on my YouTube page. But I'm going to do it. Yes. So now I'm going to do a TikTok and I'm going to put it on my TikTok profile.
I'd love to cross over. Thank you.
Awesome. Your last words?
My last words are not really about the project, but of appreciation. Once again, thank you for the platform. I think you don't realize how much it matters for the project, and just the absolute support from day one you bought into the project, and from day one you ran with it. And I know you are so filled for the year that you created this space for me, and I'm grateful. And I'm just grateful for everybody that's bought into the project, and I'm grateful for everybody that is spreading the project. I think together we can do so much more, up until the departments of education that can spread it further can actually catch on. So my last words are thank you.
It's definitely coming. I think just believe, because you have an amazing concept and it's just going to grow from strength to strength. So just keep the faith and it all will be well. Thank you so much for coming on board and chatting to us. Definitely going to share this video. We're going to make it go viral, and we're going to want people to buy into the game, the books, and the encyclopedia. Khethiwe, do you maybe want to tell people where they can get it from, contact details, etc.?
Yes, please. All my products are on www.khethiwezulu.com. Thank you, Tuli. Thank you very much. She said, put your name on it and the website on it. So it's www.khethiwezulu.com. Easy to remember. And you can contact me there. There's links to my social medias. There's links to my emails. There's even my cell phone number for business. So www.khethiwezulu.com is where you get my products.
And do you have the board game there? I see one behind you. Wow. Do you please talk so you come on the screen?
So this is the board game, and people will immediately ask me, so what are these colors? Those are the spots where you land so that you receive a question, and you either get a what, who, where, when question, which is like, who was so-and-so, where were they born, what year did this happen? And then there's a special category, my favorite, is age. Those questions, all the other 4 categories are from the books. So if you read the books, you'll probably know the answers to this. The age ones, unfortunately, you don't find in the book. You just have to know your general knowledge about your country. They are my favorite because those are the ones that show you off and show you up that you are. Maybe need to read more about South Africa. And then I just put like very fun, it's a chance game as well. So it's not only a questions and answers game, it's a dice game, it's a chance game. So when you see the bridges, if you land on the bridges, you move up or down. You see Pola means relax, you miss a turn. Bother means you control the game. So you can ask anybody within the game to move back 10 spaces. So I wanted it to be not only just a questions and answers, I move forward only. Sometimes people that know nothing win the game. Sometimes people that know more win the game, and that's the fun in it. So that the person who knows everything and is lost is like, I want another round because I know that was unfair. So the whole thing is designed to make sure that you play over and over again. But the best part that I like about the game is that you don't qualify to even start moving until you've answered a qualifying question. So you get sometimes, Tuli will tell you, sometimes you get people that are outside the game while everybody else is moving and finishing the game because they can't even get that qualifier question. So I wanted to make it also fun more than just the knowledge component of the game, engaging.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you again. And I look forward to chatting to you outside of this chat.
Of course. Thank you, Shamila. Keep well.
Thank you everyone for watching and thanks for your participation. All the best. Bye.
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 Bye.